Hello and welcome back to the All Out Brits Podcast, the podcast where we send the house on all things NFL from across the seas here in sunny, wonderful, beautiful old England. And as always, it was an action-packed week. We're getting to the business end. It was championship weekend. It was AFC and it was NFC, and it did not disappoint. And what we found out is that we now know who is going to the Super Bowl and who is going to be concluding the season for us. It was a week where we saw Brock Purdy do more work with his legs than the alleged league MVP. And we also saw Justin Tucker put more field goals down without any practice before the game than Mr. Jake Moody, the rookie. So you know for a fact that there was plenty to talk about. And as always, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Elliot Greenwood is here to join me to talk about it all. Mr. Elliot, how are you doing this week?
It's been a bit of a long week. I've heard lots of comments from you, Taryn, about how the Niners are going to the Super Bowl, how the Niners were one of the best teams in the playoffs, how they've come back from an unbelievable kind of deficit where they were at halftime. But we've got one more game left in the season. I'm going to stay positive. There's one more hurdle to get over, and then I don't have to listen to your grief anymore, Taryn. There's one more game. It's a big game. It's a game that you did, in fact, predict. You predicted the matchup. So well done there, pal. But a game which I do think is going to surprise a few people. And we're going to talk about it all. But what a championship weekend it's been. And yeah, bro, let's get into it.
Let's get into it. I feel like you've been saying one more game for most of the season at this point. And it just never ends for you, does it, mate?
Well, it will in 2 weeks' time. It will, for better or for worse, it'll end. And I'll either have egg on my face or you'll have a frown on yours. So I'll look forward to ruining your night there, Taryn.
Well, let's go back to where your week started to go bad. And that was last Sunday when we kicked off in the AFC with a clash that everyone thought was nailed on for the Ravens to absolutely walk through the Chiefs. And you know what? I think it started quite badly for the Ravens, losing the psychological warfare before the game even starts. I think set the tone. What did you make of all the antics that went down before the Ravens and Chiefs game?
I'm here for some shithousery. You know I am. I absolutely loved it. The mind games were starting from day dot. It was, it was something that you don't really see too often, especially mid-game when the refs just throw flags left, right, and centre. You got to get it done early. You got to get it done before you kind of the whistle blows and you're on the pitch. And I was all there for it. I was for it with the Chiefs. Now, one thing I would say about the Chiefs, I think they surprised a lot of people. Yeah. Coming into it, it was all about save us Lamar, stopping Taylor Swift having the Super Bowl, stopping the Swifties. But you know what? I don't mind it now. Did you see when she got put up on telly and she was just there with a miserable face, like not reacting? I don't think she likes the attention. She's not here for it either, which I don't mind. And then on the pitch after the game, helping Kelsey find his mother, find his brother. I thought that was very nice of her, very good of her. So I don't mind a Swiftie Super Bowl. It's better than we all thought it was going to be. But what a game! And like you say, how in terms of the shithousery, mate, how would you rate that in terms of what we've seen over the season?
You know what? I respected it. What actually got me on board? Now, I think I was with a lot of people. I didn't want Swiftie in the Super Bowl. I really didn't. It's not the love story I wanted. I'm not running with it. But when I saw Mr. Travis turn up like a dog, and the first few plays played like a dog, and the touchdown like a dog, I was like, you know what? I'm going to start barking for the man. And I did. And I had to start supporting him because, wow, when you're seeing a man contort his body to help his partner in crime, Mahomes, deal with the scramble, it's crazy stuff. It's stuff that we want to be watching. And I know we've had a lot of grief this week about the fact that we haven't been supporting Mr. Mahomes enough, and that we haven't been supporting the Chiefs and their greatness enough. But I think we should set it clear now. You know what? I want to hand it over to you, my friend.
Now, I've received so much grief this week from one man in particular on YouTube. He knows who he is. He knows who he's a little freak, right? He's listening to this, getting ready to write a fucking story about it, the little man. He needs a job for a start. Is what he needs to do. But one thing I would say, what an unbelievable touchdown catch that was from Mr. Travis Kelce. Unbelievable. The way, like you said, how he contorted his body. And in a game that put him in the history books, he's now got the most receiving yards of any player in playoff history. And now here's a question, Taryn. Where does he rank among the top tight ends? Is he up there with the likes of Robert Gronkowski? Is he up there?
I think maybe. If they go one step further, he's got to be above him. Surely.
Oh, that's a shout. So you think Gronk is not as good, or prime Gronk, you would still take this version of Travis Kelce?
Let's not go that far. I think the only thing that sort of helps Gronk out is he went away. He obviously did it for a long, long period of time, then went away and then came back and did it with Brady again at Tampa. And I think that's the one thing that probably Kelce hasn't got, is that he's obviously done it in the same system. Obviously, you could argue that he had the same or different system with Gronk, but at the same time, to go away and still only have really one of your dance partners with him. Maybe we have to see Kelce and Mahomes shift somewhere else to really sort of argue that. But it's really difficult, I think. Gronk said himself, he absolutely hated having Kelce there throughout his entire career, because it doesn't matter what Gronk did, Kelce was there to match it. And when you've got someone younger breathing down your neck, doing the exact same things that you're doing, you always know that there's that comparison. You always know there's that sort of issue there. But I think with Kelce, the difficult thing is obviously the stats now show Mahomes and him powering through. Obviously go past Gronk and Brady in the postseason. Obviously then Kelce goes past in his receptions and everything like that. So I think it's becoming quite difficult. And if he puts another ring on his finger, I think it makes it even more difficult to say, wow, is the conversation becoming a lot closer? What do you think, mate?
It's so difficult to say. I wasn't there to kind of see prime Gronk. I saw a lot of Gronk. Now, one thing you did mention about his year out, he said he said he was a mini retirement. He just didn't want to go to Detroit. I don't know if you've seen. He got traded to Detroit, and he went, "You can't trade me. I'm retired. What are you doing?" And he goes back and plays with his old pal down in South Florida. But enough about the past. Let's look at the game. So there was two teams in that game. We've spoken about Kansas and how brilliant they were and how underrated that Kansas City defense was. I thought that was an amazing show from them. The number 2 defense in the league, and they showed up. But on the flip side of that, they were facing the number 1 defense in the Baltimore Ravens. Now, I think that game really showed Lamar's limits. I don't know what you thought about it, Taz, but for me, I was really shocked at how little he was able to produce. And Lamar is really out of excuses. What more does he need? He really is out of excuses. He's got a record-breaking contract. He had a new offensive coordinator this season who schemed the entire offense around him. He demanded and he received OBJ. He got Zay Flowers in the first round. His team are invested in the future. He's got 2 elite tight ends in Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews. He's also got the number 1 overall defense. What more does he need? Everything that he's asked for and desired, he's received. Now, they don't hang number 1 seed banners up around the stadium. They don't. You have to win something to have a banner. In his sort of playoff career, he's gone 2-4, and he's got 0 conference titles to show for it. And he's only thrown for over 200 yards twice in those 6 games. And he's got a 6-6 touchdown to interception ratio. What more does Lamar need to elevate his game? And those 2 wins that you've got, it's Ryan Tannehill and then the rookie for the Texans, CJ Stroud. For 6 seasons as a starter, all he's shown is that he's not that guy. Yeah. I don't know what you think about that, Taz, but when the game's on the line, when his team needing to show up, he's got to stop pointing fingers and start looking at himself and show up for a change, because that is one of the best teams that we've seen in a long time.
Of course. And I think it became very clear to me that both championship games, it was a team that had the experience that ended up winning, because what became quite apparent to me very early on in the Chiefs game was how much time the Chiefs had on the ball and still came out with the exact same result that the Ravens would have, even if they did it in a minute and a half. And in those games, churning down teams and holding the ball is the thing you need to do to stop the other team from having the ball and replying back. And I think that was where the naivety sort of came in for the Ravens is, yes, Lamar was dynamic. And the first drive that they had, in reply to everything that, Kansas started off with was crazy, absolutely crazy. And you thought, well, this is going to be a really good game, but Chiefs absolutely ground them out. And I think that's what won them the game and what's taken them to the Super Bowl is their experience. They've been here before. They've done this before. They've been put up against the ropes a million times before. But they know that if they hold the ball for long enough, if they keep it in their hands and only give the other team just enough time to reply, but leave enough for themselves to have another shot at it, they will come back and win games because they've got Mahomes and he's got magic in his hands. He's got magic in his receiving core. I say that he's got magic in Travis Kelce. That's the only thing you want to throw out. But he finds himself open all day long. And I think that is where Lamar is falling down, where he's fallen down for so long. Like you mentioned there, he hasn't had enough experience in the playoffs. He hasn't had enough experience on his big days out. And that's what's let him down now. Because like you said, he's got all the tools, he's got all the assets, but he lost to an experienced Chiefs team and experienced Mahomes. And that's why the Chiefs go to the Super Bowl, I think.
And we sung his praises last week, didn't we? We said how much of an intelligent player he looks and how much more established he looks this season. Yeah. But then with the game on the line, with a couple minutes left in the fourth quarter, he throws a ball into triple coverage to not even one of his best receivers, his backup tight end. That's not smart football. That is not clever. Yeah. Now, he can't help Zay Flowers fumbling on the 1 yard line. He can't help that. That puts a very different perspective over the game. But what he can help is those unnecessary turnovers, like the one that we saw in the fourth quarter. But obviously, it's all about the Chiefs moving forward. Yeah. They're going to face a team who I think you're very, very fond of, Taron. So let's go from the AFC. Let's go to the NFC Championship game. I'll let you speak for as long as you want about this because I have been giving you nothing but grief for so long.
I'm going to spin it round. All I'm going to say is, move me out of the way. This Jimmy Garoppolo Donny that you see behind me, I cried when that man left. I really did. I think a lot of the San Francisco fan base cried. Some were tears of sadness, some were tears of joy. But the man that's come in, Mr. Brock Purdy, we've had a lot of chat. We had a lot of chat about him. But wow, how has he answered? And I think the big thing that I noticed this weekend was the faith. They call us the faithful for a reason. And by God, did I have to be faithful. I think there's more faith in loveless marriages than what I had when I saw us go down quite heavy early on. It was tough. It really was. And I sat there and I thought there's no way the Niners can go through this again. To be down that bad. And I've always said the Niners need to start well. I agreed with everything the commentator said. The Niners need to start well. And when we didn't, I feared for the absolute worst, I must say. And Brock did look like the rookie sort of last pick of the draft that he is and was for most of that first half. But I don't know what they had at halftime. It must have been a Jurgen Klopp-esque pep talk because, wow, one of the greatest comebacks, I think you could argue, in NFC. I think it was the third highest deficit turned over in a championship game. But I think it says a lot about this Niners team. If you look at the Packers game, the defense turned up really and helped out the offense quite a bit in a game where the offense really struggled. But when they needed to, the offense turned up, got the game done over the line. This game, the defense was absolutely shocking. More holes on a piece of Swiss cheese, absolutely embarrassing. Could have cried at the amount of 3rd and 14s that kept getting converted into first downs. My fist went through the TV probably once or twice. And I cried myself to sleep in the halftime interval. I woke up just in time for the second half. But the offense came out firing and they helped out that D massively. And Steve Wilkes, he said it himself, he needs to sort this out. The Chiefs are going to have an absolute field day. Mahomes is going to have a field day when it comes to it. But I'm not going to take away from the Niners. It's an amazing game. I hope people saw in that game what Niners fans see in Brock Purdy. He isn't the greatest quarterback of all time. He isn't the most elite quarterback of all time, but he's our quarterback. He's what we need. He's carried us to this point 2 years in a row now. Let's not forget that. 2 years in a row, coming in mid-season, knowing that he's had limited snaps. I've said it a million times. People need to respect this kid. And I know it's difficult because everyone hates the Niners. That's fine. That's fair enough. But people need to remember this is a humble kid who really struggled to sort of get his name out there. Nick Saban absolutely brutalized this kid and said he was no good. He had no chance. So for him to be delivering on this stage, it's crazy. It's unbelievable. It's an amazing story. And I think that's the thing that people are struggling to buy into. But let's go to the Lions side of it. I think the Lions absolutely handed that game to the Niners. There is no way on earth, and this is where the naivety comes into it for the Lions team. There's no way you can go to a championship game away on the road and give up a point score like that. I don't know how you saw it. I know a lot of people have been praising Dan Campbell, but when you've got your foot, your arse, your head, everything on top, suffocating the hell out of the number one seed in the NFC, you don't change game plan. You don't do anything different. You keep doing the goddamn same thing. And I was in disbelief that they started switching it up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the game really showed two sides. Yeah, turn your hat around, bro. Come on, be a bit more professional about this. It did show the two sides of Detroit, and mainly the two sides of Dan Campbell. Now, he's been praised all season for his play calling, especially in those crucial moments, those fourth downs, those kind of long fourth downs when you're in your own half, when you're going for a touchdown, and those have come off a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But when you're winning by that margin and you're not kicking field goals when you have the opportunity to kick free, I think it's silly. I think it's daft. And I think it shows, like you say, the naivety of the entire team. And that's going to seep through the entire organization now, because they had the tools and they were in a position where they should have won that game. And it's really hard as an organization that hasn't won very much at all, ever, to get so close within touching distance of the first one of the first Super Bowls in forever, and yet fall short because you didn't go for free. Because I think if they kick the field goal there, the momentum is completely different. The noise in the stadium is completely different. They keep the fans down. Now, I get why he's done it. Because if he goes for it and he turns what could have been 3 points into 7, kills the game. It's done. It's done. But you've got to know situational football. And he does know it. And he's a very aggressive head coach. And his praise has been sung for him the entire season because of his coaching approach. So I like that he didn't kind of sway away from that in the championship game. But at the same time, give your head a wobble. Yeah. I bet he's absolutely kicking himself. Monday morning waking up, he'd have gone, why didn't I just go for free? Why didn't I put faith in my kicker, let him have the ball, get 3 points, regroup on the sideline, get the field position battle, start the Niners from their own 25, and then go again. Yeah. Because that would have won them the game.
Yeah.
Now, like you said, the 49ers, they were down bad. Now, you've been down bad before, Taron, and you needed us to drag you out of it. But obviously, the defense dragged them out of what was a terrible hole. Now, the offense needed to do better. Now, you mentioned Brock Purdy. I still have a couple of problems with Brock Purdy, I'll be honest with you. I don't have that much faith in him, but CMC was absolutely electric. 2 touchdowns for him. Brandon Ayuk, that catch where it should have been an interception. That's the problem I have with Brock Purdy. That's the problem. That throw, that catch, that doesn't happen in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So for me, I think he needs to do what he does best and keep handing the ball to CMC in the Super Bowl. But I don't mind it. He led the team in a fantastic comeback. I'm very, very happy for him. Believe it or not, Taron, I am. He's a young man. He's done very, very well. He's still flat sharing with his pals in San
Just like us, eh?
Just like us. That's it. Still trying to make an honest living. But I think if there's any man in the NFL that deserves a Super Bowl appearance to silence his haters, to silence the critics, it is Brock Purdy. Because, like you said, 2 seasons as a starter, really 1.5 seasons as a starter, and 2 NFC Championship appearances. One of them has now been converted to a Super Bowl appearance and an NFC Championship. That's another banner at Levi's Stadium. Electric season for that young man.
Yeah. And I think a big talking point that we haven't really mentioned is how many drop catches the Lions missed out on. And I think we talked last week about curses and hexes. There must have been some crazy juju floating about the stadium at halftime, because the second half was absolutely unbelievable. And when I look at the game, going back, it's the only mistake that the Lions made physically was the fumble. But outside of that, you'd argue they just carried on playing, but it just didn't come off. I think the biggest mistake they made was putting the ball back in Goff's hands. Obviously, he was doing well, just putting these 10-yard passes together. But when they start putting the ball back in Goff's hands, instead of running it in every single capacity that they just were so creative in that first quarter, second quarter, the first drive. You can't change plan when it's working. Why would you? There was no answers. You had the best linebacker in the league, clueless. They had a secondary which really were naive. Again, absolutely dumbfounded. They had a defensive front that really struggled to get to Goff, and they completely changed it. And it just completely changed the dynamic of the game. And I'm sure the Niners are thankful. Shanahan's thankful. But I really don't know how people in Detroit must feel right now, because like you said, to be that close and to have lost it in that fashion, it's absolutely unbelievable. But on the flip side, as a Niners fan, I said it all season, we were going to go to this Super Bowl. I think Purdy proved everybody right in terms of coming back. They said he couldn't do it. Comes back, having to deal with all the emotions of losing your elbow the year before, and he keeps it intact for most of the game, apart from a few INTs where I think it must have come loose again. But it's an amazing story. It's amazing to me. And CJ Gardner-Johnson, you absolute joke, man. You joker. Screw you. Bye, mate. Get home. Not bad.
Let's all wait for CJ. See you later, CJ.
Get home. Debo, you see him sticking his head into Debo as well. Joker, pal. You know what? Yeah. Knob. Get home. Idiot.
The only negative of the game, and the only negative really for the 49ers in the last two games, is there really has been a template that's been developed now on how to beat them. And it is, like you say, the rushing attack. They don't really have an answer for it. So I think Isaiah Pacheco, he's going to show up. He's got to put on his big boy running shoes in the Super Bowl, because that is where the game is going to be won and ultimately lost. If whichever side can really dig deep in the trenches. But what an exciting Super Bowl it's going to be, Taryn.
Yeah.
Kansas City Chiefs versus the San Francisco 49ers, as you predicted, and we cannot wait for it, sir, can we?
No. And what are we going to do for the Super Bowl, mate? We've got to be doing something. What's the plan we've got?
Let's get twatted. Let's get twatted.
I might need to, because I don't know if I can be able to sit through all that.
I reckon we just have a live stream set up, just looking at your emotions the entire game on TikTok. TikTok live stream, just you going in the roller coaster of being an NFL fan. That is premium viewing, premium content.
Well, we'll find out. We'll see what everyone thinks. If you want a live stream of me losing my marbles, if you want a live stream of Mr. Elliot Greenwood having the time of his life, and if you want to come join us, you're more than welcome, guys. I think, where are we going, mate? Manchester way? Beer Keller, is it?
Yeah, we're going to go Beer Keller in Printworks in Manchester.
So Manchester Printworks, everybody. Pints on Elliot if you come and shout out the All Out Brits podcast.
Well, I was going to say, you can buy us a pint. We make this content for free. We don't get paid for this. We provide you with quality content twice a week in, week out. Buy me a pint of mucky beer. Do you know what I'm saying? Buy me a pint. I deserve it. We work hard, Darren.
Well, we'll have to see who turns up and if we actually want to come and see us.
Hopefully not Brock Purdy. Hopefully he doesn't turn up, because God, that would ruin my night.
I think he's been found now. I think he's cooking, but we won't touch too much on the Super Bowl. We'll save that for another day. But let's just look at the season as one last sort of look back. Wow. Just wow. Like, I think no one could have predicted up to this point, considering how the team started off and how the season started off. I think everybody knew that the Chiefs were going to be in and around, but I don't think they thought the teams that they met on the way would be anywhere near there. The Eagles dropping off severely was absolutely unbelievable. Obviously, the Cowboys not making it to another championship game, kind of predicted. But again, after the regular season that they had, they were one of the most dynamic offenses, as we've talked about a million times before. The Bills, obviously the Bengals losing Burrow as well. It's been some crazy developments, and all the rookie stories we've seen. What an unreal season. And I think for a neutral, if you were reading the script, you'd be quite happy with how it's gone so far, don't you think?
Absolutely. And the involvement of Miss Swift, who may one day become Miss Kelsey over there in Kansas. I think the scriptwriters have done an absolute wonderful job this in the off season preparing the script. But like you say, so many different storylines, and what a season it's been.
What a season indeed. Well, let's wrap it up. I think we've talked plenty. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I don't think so. For once in my lifetime, I'm lost for words.
Well, I've got one thing. I think. Bang bang Niners gang, baby. Sorry, I had to get it out. I was waiting, bro. What about then? Let's head to the sideline. Let's wrap things up. Let's get a refreshment, have a breather, have a break, and let's talk NFL. I think you're the one with the question this week. Why don't you kick us off with what you're thinking?
I am, sir. So this week we're on the sideline, and we're trying to be on the sideline. Yeah. So this is the question. There's one more game coming up in the NFL this season, and it was, of course, the Super Bowl in Las Vegas, Nevada, baby. And there's one question. There's a lot of questions that need to be answered in that game. But the main question is, how do you get there? Now, tickets for this game, if you want a front row seat, you're talking $30,000 a ticket, $30,000. Bro, not something that we can at this moment afford. And then if you want to sit right in the heavens, away from all the action, sat with like all the cheap seats in the back, you're talking $3,000 minimum a ticket. So my question this week, Taryn, on the sideline is, what would you give up for a front row seat to the Super Bowl of the Kansas City Chiefs versus the San Francisco 49ers? What are you giving up to be at that game?
See, now this is tough. You know, I'm going through my memories of all the people who've done me bad. You're coming up quite a bit, to be honest with you, and that sucks for you, bro.
You're just surrounded by yes men. That's all.
Would you trade a chance to go to the Super Bowl one time to never ever watch NFL ever again?
When we say a chance, what percentage chance are we saying?
So you get the tickets that you're on about, frontline seats to go watch a Super Bowl, but you never ever get to watch any game of NFL whatsoever. It becomes like a blank to you.
It would have to be my Cowboys. I'll be honest with you. I don't think I could do it for that game. I think it is the Super Bowl that no one wanted, to be honest with you. Everyone wanted Detroit versus the Ravens. But for me, I don't think I could give up an entire lifetime of potentially watching NFL for 60 minutes in that stadium when the halftime show's not even that good. So I'm saying, you got to factor all these things into it.
Good point. Very good point.
I saw a lot of Detroit fans, they were saying they'd give up anything but beer. So I don't know what you think about that, Taryn. Would you give up alcohol? Would you give up women?
I think it'd be all right to give up a bit of alcohol. I mean, we've got past dry January now.
Would you give up women to go to the Super Bowl? Well, now you have given them up for a long time. I understand that, but that's not your choice. So would you give them up?
We're on the celibacy Sigma grind, mate. That's why it's the TikToks have got to me. David Goggins has got to me. Joey Diaz has got to me. So I'm living on a different life, mate. You know. But what about yourself? Are you trying to say you'd be happy to give up women?
No, I don't think I would. You know, this is what I'm saying. I think I'd. Do you know what? I reckon I would. I'd go homeless for 6 months. That's what I do. Okay. Homeless for 6 months to go to the Super Bowl, front row seats. I'd want a pint as well whilst I'm there, something to eat, maybe a hot dog, something just to keep me hydrated and stuff. But like, what amount would you have to give up? Like something practical. What do you actually reckon?
I reckon I'd give up shoes for a year.
That's a great shout.
Yeah, because the thing is with you, like, you're used to looking scruffy and not showering and not eating properly. So for you, 6 months it's just living a day in your life, surely.
Yeah, to be fair, it's actually a bit of a holiday. So it's only 6 months and not 12.
You come out looking better out of it, surely.
Yeah. Cheers for that, pal. So you're saying that you would give up shoes? Any all shoes? Or you just wear socks? Do you get socks?
Just barefoot. Just cut it barefoot everywhere.
Oh God. Well, I'm not coming around to your gaff where you're getting your stinky toes out all the time. Not doing that. I think, nah, dirty boy.
I'll see you on the streets then, boy. See you on the streets. Oh, I think the thing that makes me laugh the most is it just shows how unserious we are about the Super Bowl and American football. Like, as Americans willing to give up life, soul, kidneys, we're just chatting about giving up brushing our teeth for a bit. So, it's like uni student days. It's not missing out on much.
I know we've lived in the ghettos before. We can live in again.
We could do it again. Maybe we've just had a tough life.
You are a brummy lad. I understand it.
Right, I'm not having this slander, pal. You're the one that gets cussed out for your accent on the podcast. Yards, but gain.
Yeah, well, he's just not cultured, that bloke. I just get all the... Do you know what it is? You post stuff on the shorts and on TikTok that makes me look bad. I say so much sense. And if people watch the pod, actually, it does make sense. It's on the shorts when you clip me up to sound like an absolute dweeb. That's when I get the hate, bro. You do it on purpose, and you know you do. So I'm going to give up you to go for the chance to go to Super Bowl.
Well, you know what, guys? You've heard it there first. Go and look at the TikToks. Go look at the shorts. Don't bother watching the full version because it's got all the goodness and everything that you need to listen to and hear and understand on all our social media pages. So make sure to check those out. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on the YouTube as well. And maybe skim through all the good bits where I'm looking pretty in them. And thank you, everybody, for joining us this week on the All Out Brits podcast. It's been a wonderful one. I know we've got something exciting planned for our next few podcasts, and obviously the Pro Bowl this week. So take a break from watching NFL and seeing everyone smack into each other, but keep an eye on our page because I know there's some interesting things coming up. And we'll see you next time when we'll be previewing the big game, the absolute occasion, and preventing any tears from occurring. We'll see you next time on the All Out Brits podcast.
Bang, bang, Niners gang, baby.